What is up, guys? I'm super excited about today's episode because we've actually never done this before. This is something that we're going to start rolling out, and I think it's going to be hugely beneficial to you guys, especially if you're curious about just everybody's experience inside of the Woodworking Business Accelerator program. So without further ado, let me introduce a new segment to our channel, to our podcast. Let's dive in. All right. Well, welcome to the podcast. If you're seeing this, you can be seeing this on YouTube. This is something different, something that we've never done before, something that I think we're pretty excited about starting. And that is what we're going to call the bonus round with Zach, Keith, and Luke. And so this is brand new. Nobody has ever, this is groundbreaking stuff. And so today I'm joined by my co-hosts, Keith and Luke, who are members of the Woodworking Business Accelerator program, but are coaches inside of the Woodworking Business Accelerator program. These are the guys that are pouring into every single member of the program, walking through the nitty gritty, getting into the weeds, and helping them with every component of it. And guys, I'm pumped to be kicking it with y'all, hanging out with you
I'm
guys.
pumped too.
Just talking woodworking, talking client success. We're going to be sharing some stories here as well of you guys and your wins, and also other clients. We're going to be interviewing clients and talking to them, getting their experience. And just so everybody that's here knows, the reason that we're doing this is I am tired of talking all by myself to a camera all the time. And I want to have more dialogue and less monologue. And so we're going to be just hanging out, shooting the breeze. I got some questions for these guys today. But to just get started, we'll start with Keith and then we'll go to Luke. But real quick, just give a quick 30,000 foot view. Who are you? Where are you from? Where do you live? Where you live? What's the name of your business? And how did you first come across the Woodworking Business Accelerator program?
So my name's Keith. I own Legacy Hardwood, and my business is located in Fairfax, Virginia, Northern Virginia, just outside DC. I started that company with Zach in the spring of 2022. I found your podcast. I was just sanding like crazy in binging your episodes, and decided to make the plunge, wanted to build something for myself. And I started the company with your help. And here we are 2.5 years later, and coming up on 1 year being a coach. So it's been an awesome journey, and I'm excited to be a part of it, part of your stuff, and you guys be a part of mine.
Sweet. Love it. What about you, Luke?
So I'm Luke Dodds. I am 20 years old. I own the Timber Garage LLC, and I've been woodworking since I was 16. And Zach, I first came across you, I would have been 19 years old. I'm finishing up high school. I'm laying in bed, dreading going to school, and I see an ad that says, "Hey, woodworking business owner, are you selling $3,000 to $5,000 a month worth of furniture and want to be doing 20K plus? Join the Woodworking Business Accelerator program." And I'm like, huh. And I fill it out and then I forget about it. And then a day later, I get an email from this dude named Zach, and he's like, "Hey, let's jump on a call." And then I jump on a call with you, and I'm thinking like, this guy is a total shyster. There's no way that this guy's legit. He's here to scam me and take my money. And we talked for like 45 minutes, and I'm like, this guy's all right.
Yeah,
And
I remember the first call. I remember that call well. When I first talked to you, Zach, and we actually had a follow-up call so I could talk
Yeah.
with my wife and you, because she was like, "You're not giving this guy whatever it was at the time, $1,000 or $2,000."
Yeah.
And then you just talked me off the ledge, and opened my eyes to making the right decision, or a good decision for me in my situation. So in hindsight, looking back on it, it was a drop in the bucket, and I'm so happy I made that plunge, because it's changed my life. And it's been a lot of work, but it's been fulfilling, and I've learned a lot in the last 2.5 years.
Cool. I love it. I remember also both of those instances. And Luke, he came to me and he's 19. He's like, "Yeah, I'm getting ready to go to school. You're going to go to Ohio State, weren't you?"
yeah.
Yeah. You're like, "I'm going to Ohio State, but I'm crushing it selling cutting boards." And I'm like, dude, if you're crushing it selling cutting boards, you should really sell furniture because you're going to make a whole lot more money. So, well,
True
cool. Well,
story.
I uh I want to dive in, just ask you guys some questions about your business, about your experience, also, your perspective as coaches inside the program. I think that there's probably a lot of guys that have maybe considered joining the program or checking it out, but they're just kind of fearful of like, how do I know if I'm going to be successful or not? And so I want to just spend some time today just talking through that. Like, the guys that come in, some guys come in and are really successful, some guys come in and they're not. And you guys have a front row view as to why. And so I really wanted to kind of ask y'all um, some questions around that, like what makes a successful client and what doesn't. But first question I have for you guys, I guess this isn't the first, this is the second. Second question is what were like kind of the biggest challenges or issues inside of your business like before you joined, before you got connected to me, like what were you kind of struggling with? What were you kind of confused about? What did you need help with? I guess is a good way to ask that.
Yeah, absolutely. So for me, I was, I just got out of high school and I'm just tackling this by myself in my garage. And then eventually I convinced my cousin to come help me in the garage. And so we're just building things and, I'm out selling cutting boards. And so we'll build batches of, 100 cutting boards in the garage. And then I'll sell a random piece of furniture here and there and we'll, try and figure out how to do it. But largely, we weren't specialized in anything other than the cutting boards. And I had, for context, Zach, we talked back in May, and it took me till November to actually join your program
Mm-hmm.
because after I thought about it for a long time, my ego got to me and I was like, I don't need this, dude. And so, I started rocking and rolling without you. But some of the things that you talked about were kind of instilled in me, like I need to chase those larger ticket items. And so I would go get a dining set and I would go get a couple of these other things. And I just didn't know how to do it. And like the weird issue that I had, well, weird compared to a lot of the people in the program, is like I've never had an issue getting the sale. It's always been production. And so when I joined and you showed me how to build everything, like step by step, I was like, oh, dude, this is wonderful. And so once I figured out how to actually build the tables, then it was just a breeze.
Yeah, which is not normal. I think most guys are probably pretty good woodworkers, and the sales is what they struggle with. If I think if we could, throw a big broad statement across everybody
Right.
in the
Yeah.
program,
Yeah.
so cool.
Yeah,
Keep going,
Luke's
man.
also got the gift of gab. He's like you, Zach. He can talk to anybody about anything. When I was 19, there's no way I would have done anything to this, at least to the level that Luke's doing. So
I know he's a
it's
baller.
very impressive to see Luke in just the 12 months. Have you been in the program last October or November?
November. I've been in for 10 months.
That's insane. It's
Yeah.
Yeah.
insane. So I was playing Halo, and when I was 19, I was like playing Halo and Call of Duty or whatever it was
Yeah,
back then.
I had no business was not even a blip on my radar. Like making money,
Yeah, playing
trying to
sports
think
or
about the future. Like I was still picking my nose and playing in the dirt. So,
yeah.
I do
So
that, just not when I'm at work is all,
uh, fair enough, fair enough,
yeah.
fair
So
enough.
when I jumped in, it was just kind of a side thing. It wasn't something I was doing intentionally. I wasn't pursuing work. I just had a couple Facebook Marketplace jobs out, or I was doing random things for friends and family. I was doing small things, but I had so much bandwidth in my day when I was doing my day job, working remotely, and then having some times of the day where I'd be, twiddling my thumbs. I'm like, you know what, I can probably build something, and then I found your podcast and decided to make the jump. But yeah, I wasn't official with anything. I didn't know how to pursue work, how to get set up, how to do invoices, anything business set up. So it was a big learning curve, and you held my hand through that first month and a half, just getting set up, and
Yeah.
then it's been just getting organized, getting official, and all that stuff was a big help right in the beginning.
I remember with Keith in particular, I remember spending that first month really like getting a new LLC, getting business bank accounts, helping
Yeah,
you get
because you can only do so much in the first week when you're doing all that. Yeah, we got to wait for your
right.
accounts, and
Yeah. And I remember getting the website launched, and I remember when we launched your ads, like within the first 3 days, you called me and you're like, I just got off the phone with a woman and she placed an order online. Like, like I remember you.
yeah, she paid in full, and that's what started my business because I put
Yeah.
$500 in to get the LLC going and all that stuff, but then I
Mhm.
got a full payment on like a $4,500 order. And then I
Yeah.
took that to buy the whitewood items to get set up with whitewood, to get my lumber, to everything. It set up everything. So everything was started on that first order. and I
Yeah.
haven't had to put any money into it since then. So it's been awesome to have built something from essentially scratch,
Yeah.
a small little investment, and then the investment in your program. So
Yeah. It was cool though. I remember just that like that moment hearing it in your voice on the phone where you're like, this actually works. Like
yeah, like what do I say? What do I do?
this can actually be a thing. I remember it was just like she actually bought. She placed an order. And I was like, yeah.
Yeah.
When you get going,
I had to
that's how
call
it
him and be like,
works.
"Are you sure? Are you sure you would place an order? Or are you sure you want to do that?" Um,
Yeah. So
yeah,
cool. I love it. Cool. Okay. So number three is what has been kind of the biggest, obviously there's a lot of things that we try to offer a lot of value with inside of the program. But for you, what was the biggest game changer for you inside of the program? Was it acquiring customers and getting new sales? Was it learning how to sell? Was it getting systemized on the back end? We do all of it, but for you personally, like what has been the most beneficial thing if you could break it down to one thing?
yeah. Go ahead, Luke. Let me think.
Yeah, so it's definitely the organization. And so once, like I mentioned, once you showed us how to build it, and it's like, okay, great, I can sell it, and then me and my cousin, we can go build this, and we're set. But then it's like, okay, now we're getting confused because you start, sending these ads my way and I'm closing the deals and we're getting orders wrong. We're getting upset customers, and things are just a mess. Our shop isn't organized and like my headspace is just like overwhelmed.
Cloudy. Yeah.
And I was like, what is happening? This isn't working. And I'm thinking like, where did I go wrong? Because I used to love woodworking and here I am and I'm dreading it. And
Yeah.
and so I one of the biggest mistakes I made was I was too afraid to be open and honest with you guys.
Mm.
Just I couldn't put my own ego aside to tell you guys like, hey, I'm not in a good spot and I need some backup. And then once I finally got myself to do that, I realized like, okay, there's so much information in the program and that you guys can help me with to get organized and create, these like standard operating procedures and like, hey, what do you do to confirm an order and, call the customer before you start building and make sure that it's this, 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 and this, and then schedule a
Mhm.
delivery date and all these things that just make it so easy. And then once you start doing these things, it's like, man, this Zach guy actually knows something?
Well, it was all birthed out of pain, I assure you. All of those
Yeah,
systems and all those processes.
Luke, you're locked in. Like for you to have got to where you are in this short amount of time, I didn't get there that fast in my experience. I went through the pain. Even though Zach told me these things and the program teaches you these things, I still had to experience them firsthand
Yeah.
and take it on the chin before I really learned, It's like when
Yeah.
I was talking to my brother, one of my main guys in the shop, and he was talking about our new sander guy. He's like, you got to make the mistakes to really understand what we're even telling you, whether it's swirl
Yeah.
marks or a glue that's left over on a seam after you stain it or whatever. He has to see it and experience it as opposed to us just telling him when we're training him, look for this, do this, and he's like, okay. But then, it's just the same thing with anything, same thing with business. But you seem to be catching up a lot faster than
Yeah.
guys like me, Mr. Luke.
It's an active effort. It's an active effort, no doubt about it.
Cool.
Yeah.
What about you, Keith?
For me, having cash. So when you get, like I just talked about, when you get $4,000 in your pocket to work with, you can't just go spend it, but you can buy your materials and buy the stuff. And then with the remaining, I invested a lot back into the business in the first year of owning
Yeah.
the business. So we went to a commercial space, we improved machining. I still have my full-time job that I still work. So it wasn't something I didn't build the company to, I mean, it's nice to pull a paycheck, but the first 12 months I just dedicated to growing the business and getting it set up to where you'll hopefully pull more money from it if you hadn't done so otherwise. So, but having those cash from the deposits is great. Like when you get 3, 4 sales in a month and their average order value is $2,500, that's a good chunk of change to go operate with. So as long as you can be smart with your money and manage your cash flow, things go well. So having money early on was nice. It kind of opened my eyes to what was possible. And
Mm.
then after a couple months, I scaled my ad spend towards the fourth quarter. And then my first year was great, my first 9 months. So
Yeah.
it gave me a lot of experience with that too, just learning what to do with so much money
Yeah. That's great.
relative to what I had been doing before.
Right.
$2,000 a month, whatever it is.
Nice. So real quick, just this doesn't have to take long, but just kind of tell everybody where were you at like financially with like average monthly revenues before you started the program and like where you at today and how long have you been within the program?
Sure. I started in April of 2022. Um, well, before I was doing one or two projects a month, and I was doing everything on the side at night or lunches during my when I worked from home. At the time, I only had one kid, or I guess two kids, one kid and a baby, and now I have three kids.
Mhm.
So I was doing one or two projects a month, and now we're doing 12 to 15 a month, and we're doing 30 to 40,000 a month in sales and production. So doubling, or what is that, 20x what we were doing before I started the
Yeah.
program. And yeah,
So you were doing around 3 to 5 a month ish.
probably more like 2 to 4 a month.
Yeah.
I'd probably do a table or two.
Right.
And at the
Cool.
time, I wasn't hardly charging anything for what I was doing.
Right.
I did like a 12 by 48 live edge table with matching benches for like $3,000, $2,000.
Oh my gosh.
And it was insane. It was
Yeah.
like the biggest project I've ever done. And at the time I was like, there's no way she's gonna pay me 2 grand. And then
Yeah.
I got it, and then it took me forever to do. And yeah,
Yeah. And you didn't make very much money.
no.
But hey, we've all been
Well, I
there
did
too.
because I was paying myself. It wasn't like I had
I
overhead
guess that's
or
true. Yeah.
things at the time. So
Yeah. Cool. Cool.
For me, yeah. So when we first talked in May of 2023, Zach, that was my last week of high school. And I was super proud because I was like, yeah, dude, I just sold 5 grand worth of cutting boards to a business down the street. And, we were talking about that. And then um, after we, stopped talking for a couple of months, I was on a mission that summer to make as much money as possible because in my own mind, I thought, okay, if I can make a ton of money, I can go explain to my parents, like, hey, I've got this business. I don't need to go to college. And they were never forcing me to go to college. That's just
Yeah.
what, they thought I wanted to do. And I was too shy
Right.
to say, I want to be a woodworker. So by no means am I hating on my parents. They're super supportive. And so
Yeah.
then it's the night before my Ohio State orientation, and it's like 11 o'clock, and I go into their room and I'm like all stressed out. And I explained to them, like, hey, I sold 9,800 and some dollars worth of furniture in the last 30 days all by myself. And I was like, this is my first 30 days doing this full time, is what I did in the month of June, right after we
Mhm.
talked. And I was like, I think I'm making a mistake by going to college. And they're just like, okay, don't go. And I was like,
That's
cool.
cool.
So then I started working on it, and the months were super like all over the place. And so like I did great that month, and I probably made like $1,200 the next month, and I was crushed. And then I probably made 6 grand. And so I was kind of all over the place. And then when we talked in November, I think I was doing like 9, 10, 11, somewhere still around there. And then since then we're doing,
and that was just cutting boards, right?
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And so I still have that.
That's a lot of cutting boards, or at least
I
to me,
know,
that's a
right?
lot.
I still have the cutting board operation rolling these days, and so it's in a similar place. I haven't pushed it so much, so right around $10,000 a month in cutting boards, and
Good though.
anywhere between 20 and 28,000 or so in furniture every month on top of that. So we average on a low month, we'll do the high 20s, and on a good month, we'll do high 30s. The best month I've had was like 54,000.
Yeah.
That was January 2023. So yeah, doing a lot better. As I said to you guys the other night, I was frustrated, or not, frustrated, just like a little bummed that we were kind of low on cash in the business. And then I thought about it and I was like, we have more in cash than what we sold gross 2023. Like
Yeah.
that's crazy.
Yeah. I know. That's awesome, dude. Proud of you, bro. So Keith,
It's
what has
incredible.
been your best month? Like,
Best month, 2023 in August, we did 76,000.
yeah. And
Yeah.
what did we spend on ads that month? It was like 3 grand.
2,500. Yeah. So that's
Yeah.
28x, 28.4x. I'm looking at on my screen over here, my tracker.
Yeah.
So that was like out of nowhere. We had no expectations. Like, I
And I
was,
didn't either.
yeah, it was like,
Yeah.
whoa, that was the month you couldn't miss. They were just like, you get a
Well,
table, you
and
get a table.
today's the 16th, and you're at like 26 today, right?
26 what?
You're at like
Yeah.
26,000.
I had a customer walk in today after they had been. So I moved into this shop showroom in September of 22, and that's when she started following me because she was following my Instagram and stuff. And they just walked in and bought a set. So it was cool to Kelly, if you're watching this, thanks for coming in. Um,
Yeah. Yeah.
I doubt she would see this, but it's just crazy. Yeah, so that put us at 26 grand for this month already.
Yeah. And you're
So
like
it's
halfway through.
not quite on pace for 71 or 76 like last year, but still a really good return on what we're doing.
Nice.
Right.
Our trailing 3 month is 40,000 average. So
That's great. That's
Nice.
awesome. Cool. All right. Next question I got for you guys. So this is the good one. I think this is where guys are getting a lot of value out of this conversation. So you're both coaches in the program now. What are the key factors that you're looking for to be able to tell if somebody is going to be successful or unsuccessful in the program? Like, what do the successful guys do that come into the program, and what do the unsuccessful guys do? Like, what are the difference here? And don't call anybody out by name. I'm not throw anybody to the wolves. But what are the things that you see the guys that are doing good and learning and growing and being teachable? What are they doing? What are the guys that seem to continue to struggle? What are they doing?
So I can actually speak from my own experience. If we think back to when I first joined, the first 3 months were absolutely terrible. And that was because I was making the same mistakes that a lot of the people who, have poor results in the program make. And they're not just open and honest, which again, I understand it's difficult for everybody to be vulnerable. And it was super tough for me, as a teenager, thinking I'm all this or whatever, to come and tell Zach and Keith that I needed some help.
Yeah,
And so like I wasn't asking for help. I was just trying to do it myself. And I just kind of thought like, okay, I put the money in the system. Now the system is going to go get me sales. And so sales were bad and production was bad. And then once I realized like, hey, if I can just every single time that there's a problem in the business, I can ask 30 other business owners. And in 5 minutes, I'm going to have six, seven, eight responses from these people who have, been woodworking longer than I've been alive in a few cases.
yeah,
Running businesses for a long time. They have, experience with a difficult customer or a tough, tough debt to build. You got to build something weird, and they have experience doing that exact thing. And so if I would have just started asking the group every time I ran into a roadblock and getting on regular huddles or Zoom meetings with you guys, I would have been so much more successful. I'm telling you, like, if it took me 10 months to get to where I am now, if I would have done, put in the active effort that I started putting in 6 months ago at the start, you would have hired me way sooner, Zach.
yeah,
well said, Luke. It's the ones that lead with their weakness, that lead with their vulnerability, and are open to coaching. Not everybody, and I'm sometimes, don't want to come out and air my dirty laundry to you guys or whatever, but it's the guys that are open to coaching. They are lead with their weakness and are okay with taking constructive criticism and then applying. I mean, I'm not perfect, and I can only give to you to the guys in the group what I've learned from you, Zach, or what I've learned in my 2.5 years so far of
Right.
business. So it's strictly my perspective. But if you hire a coach and then you never engage with the coach, what's the point? Is kind of my opinion. But there are plenty of people in the group that are doing great and aren't engaging us all the time. But then there's the few that have come and gone that don't see the value, but I don't think they have always been engaging. Or when every time we have our check-ins and it's, hey, everything's going great. Okay, is that the truth, or are you just not telling us what's going on in your head? Because I don't know if this is from my perspective, but there's always something going on, whether it's at home, whether it's work-life balance, whether
hmm
it's juggling at all, juggling customers. There's very rarely a week where every single thing is perfect, or I couldn't use a second set of eyes on. So
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I thought, when I first joined, I thought like, okay, if I have to bring an issue to Zach and Keith, it has to be some huge issue that's, like keeping the business chained down. And like I
Mhm.
text the group probably 10 times a day about just little things that we run into, like, hey, what's the best paint to use? Like that was a conversation we had with a bunch of people yesterday about like finishing and things like that. Like I'm having bad luck with this spray gun. What spray gun can you use? Or like, hey, where can you get the best pricing on sandpaper kind of thing? Like the people who are always asking the questions are the people who are doing really good. And they don't have to be huge questions, is what I have been trying to tell the new people. Like just anything you're wondering, just reach out to us on. Like that's what we're here to do, is just help you with everything. If you need help with the little stuff or if you need help with the big stuff, we can sort it out. Whether it's a 2-minute phone call or a 2-hour Zoom session where we have to hash it all out, that's what we're here to do.
Yeah. That's really good, man. We've had a lot of people come and go. We've had people come in. We have people that have been with us like from the beginning, the OGs of the group. We have some people that have been with us for a long time. We have, we've had a lot of people that have come and been with us like a month and then left, not experienced success, and they immediately bolted. We've had some people that have come and been with us for a long time and then left later down the road. Sometimes, things change. There's a couple guys that like they got a new job or they decided to go a different route or things. But for me, I think the number one thing really is um, like coming in and applying yourself and extracting the value from the program. I think if we could put language around it, it's like having the mindset like I'm going to get everything out of this that I'm paying for. I think some guys, since we're running ads, and that's one of the big selling points, we're running ads for you. We're going to help you get new customers. We're going to help you get a ton of leads. Like your lead flow is going to 5x, 10x overnight. Like I think a lot of people just are like, oh yeah, well if I get a ton of leads, everything else is going to work itself out,
Right.
and that's
That's
just
how
not
I
the case.
was.
Yeah, and
Yeah,
that's
I
just
think
not the
I think you
case.
you talked about it before, Zach, but like putting the dollar in the machine and getting the money back, it's not that simple. You can't just
Yeah,
10x just like that. It's a good what do you call it, analogy,
analogy. Yeah.
but it isn't how it works. You still have to do the work. You still have to apply yourself. You still have to chase the leads, shake down your sales, manage the customers and all the sales conversations you have going on at any given point. If you're on a smaller ad spend, you might be 20, 30 conversations going on in a month. If you're at a bigger price point, you might be at 50 to 90, 50 to 100 active conversations that you have to manage.
Hmm.
So
Which
the monthly,
sounds like a lot, right? But we also give systems to help make that easier.
right. So before, then that brings you to like, you for months had told me when I first started to get a CRM, to get Zapier up going with your automations. And I didn't do that until probably, I think 9, 10 months had gone by before I finally got it. And then I realized how many customers I was missing, how many sales I had just dropped completely
Yeah,
by not being
absolutely.
organized. So I was just scrolling
Same.
through and trying to remember the guy's name and like, oh yeah, here's a conversation, instead of just being organized, go point click, send your message, move on. So
Hmm.
Yeah, like the folks who carve out, just a little bit of time every morning to go through the CRM and make sure it's in tip-top shape. I mean, that's just a recipe to start crushing. But the
Yeah.
the unorganized, without a CRM, I went months, like Keith said, with no CRM, and I'm wondering why I'm not getting any of these sales. And you get so many leads, like it's almost impossible to remember the good ones, because with a ton of leads also comes bad leads, and so you have to sort through bad leads. So yeah, and in one of the conversations that I just had with a guy, we were talking about, there's that fixed fee of our program. And I was like, hey, like you can get a ton out of this program or you can get nothing out of the program and you're still paying that bill. Like you can book me twice a week or you can book me twice a year and you still pay the same amount for it. And
Yep.
so like, use the program and get your money's worth and it just works for you. And once you're getting all this value out of it, it's a deal. Like Zach, at this point in my business, I would pay way more for the program than what we have to pay these days, just because I understand how much value is in it.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. And I think, there have been guys that have come in that would say it wasn't worth the money, but it was because they did not extract the value of the program. And just to kind of recap here, like we're going to run ads for you. We're going to bring you a ridiculous amount of leads compared to what you're getting just through word of mouth referral based business. Um, for almost everybody inside the program, if you walk through the sales training, you have Keith and Luke review your conversations and give you feedback, and you get a organized CRM, you're going to generate 10 to 12x in revenue of what you spend on ads. So if you're spending $500, you're going to close 2 to 3 high ticket deals and be over $5,000 for the month. If you're spending, Keith for the last 2 or 3 months has been spending $4,000 a month on ads, and he's been doing over 40,000 a month every month. And the beautiful part of it is it difficult to like get it in your brain and get it in your like figure it out. It's a little challenging, but we hold your hand the whole way. But once you learn it, you learn it. We don't have guys that have been in the program for 2 years coming back. Hey, how do you handle this? How do you say this? How do you do this? They know it's like the back of their hand, and it's a skill set that they've learned that's going to carry them for eternity, like for as long as they're selling stuff, they're going to have those skills. And so that's huge. That's huge. So anything else on that? We got a few minutes left, but anything else on the guys that are successful versus unsuccessful?
It's just the people who are most active in the Slack channel. Like if you
And
got
there's
on
and there's
and
and there's
can see,
personalities too,
yeah,
right? Not everyone's like Luke, where you gab, you just love talking. Some people aren't like that, and it's not that you
Yeah.
can't be successful and chatty like Luke. It's just
Yeah.
a simple question here and there goes a long way because it allows us to help you. Because if we're just blindly trying to probe out information and what you're struggling with, it's not gonna we can't add value to you. So we're kind of then at that point, it's just you're going through the course by yourself. It's kind of like remote learning, right? It's like
Yeah.
you got to get tap into the group, tap into the hive mind of the Slack. I think is fantastic. You know,
Yeah. I would
um,
agree.
yeah.
It's been a huge value. So, okay, cool. All right. So real quick, what are some goals that you guys have? What are some short-term, some long-term goals for, and we can just say like for your own woodworking business, but also just like in the program, like you guys are active coaches. Like I really value and appreciate you guys and want to go the distance with y'all. So like what do y'all got? What do you guys see for the future of the program? What do you see for the future of your own woodworking businesses? What's that look like for you guys?
Sure. My target has always been moving. When I first joined the program, I wanted to replace my day job and I wanted to be a full-time woodworker. That
Mhm.
has changed significantly since then. So now I'm trying to just manage my W-2 and grow the business to one point one day step away completely or just be a business owner and not an operator. We had a good call on our group call yesterday about building your business to sell or getting it to a point where it's ready to sell. And that's kind of my goal now is to, because I have a lot of things going on still. I'm coaching the program. I've got 3 kids. I have my day job and then the wood business. So there's not a lot of bandwidth some days coming home to my a house full of 3 kids and my wife, so I'm trying to prioritize them while doing
Yeah.
everything. So my goals have shifted to removing myself more from the operating of the business and then be more of
Mhm.
a supporter and operator, and then one day selling. That's kind of my out on the horizon. So
Nice.
yeah, I'm kind of right there with you, Keith. I wanted to be that full-time woodworker who could just, whether that was in the garage or in a commercial space, just grind out the tables, always be covered in, walnut sawdust and have my cool canvas apron on and my woodpecker square and all that, you know. And that was the dream actually since I was like 15 or 16 and started woodworking. I was like, this is awesome. And then as this business has evolved, what I found is although I love woodworking, what I'm truly passionate about is being an entrepreneur. And if I had to zoom in even further, it's being a sales consultant. And so my goals have shifted to the point where long term, I would like to exit this business and just be a sales consultant. I love this business. I go back and forth on whether or not I want to exit because it is a good business. I have a profitable business. It's fun to be a part of this business, but then
Mhm.
there are the days that aren't fun, and it's like, yeah. You know?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
being a coach in the program has opened my eyes to also seeing the results of like, hey, guys, here's how I sell these tables. Can you give this method a try? And then they come back 2 months later and they hit their 10x for the first time, or they did a 20x or a 25x for the first time. Like that's awesome. And so I have found that one of my best skill sets is not only selling the furniture, but helping others sell the furniture. And so if I could help other businesses get very good at selling, whether that's, training a sales team or whatever that is, that's kind of my long-term goal at the moment. But, our goals change quite often. And if you think about how fast things have changed in the last 10 months that I've been in the program, then that goal is probably going to change here in the short term.
Yeah. Well, I would just say too, like, I think it's so important for everybody that's listening to this to not be like, oh yeah, that sounds awesome. I should do that too. But to really
Yeah.
look at yourself and be like, what is my skill set? What is my bandwidth? What am I passionate about? And then write your own goals. I think it's foolish sometimes, like people,
Yes.
you
You don't
know,
need to be like I wanted to be like you, Zach, but then you're just so different than me. Your situation's different.
yeah,
I wanted to be like whoever, Lumber to Love, or I wanted to be like the big dogs. But in reality, for my situation, what I want to do, where my goals are different. So you
yeah.
don't have to have a business with three, five, four, five, 8 employees. You can go, hey Zach, I'm really sorry, I got to drop. I'm getting pulled into a work meeting.
Okay.
So
Okay. No
thanks so
worries.
much for having me on, guys. Really good to chat. I'm excited to do
Yeah,
more of these.
for sure.
Absolutely.
This is the
Yeah,
first of many.
yeah.
Love and appreciate you, bro. See
All right, man.
you
See
soon.
you guys.
Take care, Keith.
Yeah. All right, Luke. So to wrap this up,
Yep.
what is the best business book that you have ever read?
So I am a huge business book addict. I am obsessed with learning. And if you would ask any of my buddies from high school if I like to learn, they would tell you that there is not a chance. Because see, me in high school, I was sitting in the back with my feet on the desk and I was playing Tetris on my school computer. That was me
Yeah.
every day senior year. I did not care about school. I it just was not something I was passionate about. I don't care. I'm sure all the teachers thought I was some complete jerk.
Yeah,
And
probably.
I am obsessed with learning. I can't get enough knowledge in my head. And so I love to read business books. And the one that you recommended to me has truly changed my life. And it's E-Myth Revisited all day long. Nothing else compares.
Yeah, it really is. I mean, I've read probably 80 to 100 business books as well. And that one gave me the biggest epiphany of how to operate a business, how to grow, how to provide structure for a business. If your goal is to increase your sales, increase your, ability to produce, hire employees, that sort of thing. Like I cannot recommend it enough. It's a pillar, absolute pillar, um, of business books. Another great one that I love. It's not nearly as woodworking business related or even operationally related, but just Rich Dad Poor Dad. That was a
Yeah,
great one that I read that just kind of opened my mind to what was possible when you stop thinking about, okay, if I want to make this much money, I need to work this many hours. And you start thinking in, okay, if I want to make this much money, I need to sell this many units.
yeah,
That is a huge shift because really it comes down to exposure at that point. And one thing I love about ads, and that you guys have all seen and experienced personally is that you introduce leverage into your life. And so, you know, when you look at everything through the eyes of an employee, which we've all been employees, except for you. I don't
right.
think you've ever been an employee.
No,
Maybe, yeah. But I was an employee for years, and it was always like, okay, if I want to make this much money, I got to put in this much time. Like that
right,
was time was directly correlated to money.
right,
And when you start running ads, and then you build out an ad campaign, and it's like, okay, we're going to put this much money behind it, and you get a 10x return on that ad campaign. Well, then you put more money behind it and you get more money, and you put more money behind it and you get more money. You still had the same amount of hours, you still had the same amount of time, and you break this chain mentally in your brain of time to money, and it becomes units to money, and time has nothing to do with it any longer.
right.
And so that was huge for me. That was a huge epiphany moment for me, and kind of changed the way that I saw business and finance. And Warren Buffett, one of the probably the greatest investor of all time, he says, if you don't learn how to make money in your sleep, you'll be working until the day that you die. And
Right.
so learning how to create a system that helps you make money opposed to you just out there just blood, sweat, and tears all the time. It is nice. It helps take some of the edge off. That doesn't mean that we don't still work hard. We definitely
Right.
still work hard. You got to improve your sales skills. You got to have conversations. But as you get better at that, and then you leverage that against paid ads and against other ways to get in front of more customers, you can scale to the moon. So,
Absolutely. And Zach, that's a point, that's a huge point of what we talk about in the program.
mm,
I think when I joined this program, the word leverage wasn't even in my vocabulary.
yeah.
And ever since you taught me about that, it's like, wow, this is insane, you know? And
Hmm.
if, and even from that employee mindset, if you had to put like what all that's worth in an hour, like the number would be outrageous, you know, like there aren't jobs
Yeah.
paying that well, you know, it's crazy. And so the
Right.
leverage that you've taught me to have in my own business and everyone in the business, that's just been unbelievable. So worth it. And I'm going to spotlight you for a second. I quote you all the time to like business owners that I know and just friends. And you told me you don't have a hard work problem. And you said this on a coaching call not that long ago. No one on
Hmm.
this call has a hard work problem. We're all hard workers. We all have a knowledge problem. And then
Yeah.
where you are now and where you want to be is just a problem of knowledge. And I was like, what? This is crazy. And that just blew my
Mm.
mind again. And so, these things that we talk about in the Woodworking Business Accelerator program, they're just on a different plane of thought than what I was used to.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of the woodworkers in the program could agree to that because a lot of us, we're just woodworkers who like to, do everything but sand and not think about the business.
Yeah.
you
We
know?
can be honest, sanding is the worst.
Right?
Yeah, for real.
And so you've changed the way we think. And once you changed the way we thought, it was just, a matter of implementing the program and just scaling. And it really
Yeah.
becomes, when you look at it in perspective, it is very, very simple. There's a lot of hard work of working out the program and extracting the knowledge. But then, like how you talk about that slot machine where you could just stand at it all day long and put $1 in and get $10 out all day long. And really, from the 10,000 foot view, that's all that this program is just that big slot machine that you first told me about.
Yeah. That's awesome. Thanks, man. I appreciate it.
Absolutely.
I'm glad that stuck with you because it is so true. And I think I have been there. I have been there like on the late nights when I'm in the shop or in the garage and I'm just working myself to the bone. And I'm like,
Yeah.
and I was thinking there's got to be a better way. Like
Yeah.
there has got to be a better way than this. Like I remember it was like leading up to Thanksgiving, like in like 2019. I think it was 2019, leading up to Thanksgiving, and I was trying to get all these tables done for Thanksgiving customers, and I was working till like 2, 3 o'clock in the morning. And I had this epiphany, like I am never doing this again. Like this is Zach Vaught. You need to remember this because this is gonna be the last time that you ever stay up till 3 o'clock in the morning finishing tables. Like you're never doing it again. You're going to figure out how to not do it again. And from that point on, it was just figuring out systems, scale, organization, because that's what breaks when you start scaling,
Right.
like kind of what happened to you is like you're selling and like this stack of orders is growing. And then it's like, oh my gosh, we're in over our head now from a
Yeah.
fulfillment standpoint. And
Yep.
that's one of the things that it's normal. I think that's one thing I would just tell people that are maybe watching this, like if you really do want to scale, you need to just own the fact that you're going to have a ton of what I call micro failures of little things that you just totally screw up and you learn from along the way. And the goal is to be able to adapt and change quick enough that you don't have a macro failure where the whole business falls, your marriage falls apart, you have a panic attack, those sorts of things. Like those, we don't want any of those things. As we start to scale, you're going to grow outside of what's comfortable. You're going to grow outside of what's normal, and you're not going to know how to handle it. You're not going to be equipped to handle it. And that's where we come in, where we say, hey, we've been there, we've done that, we've made those same mistakes. Here's what to do now. Or, hey, as you start to scale, these things are going to pop up. These are going to be the problems. You need to go ahead and have this ready and know how to counteract that and fight against that. And so, but
Yeah,
man,
absolutely.
I appreciate you. Love you, bro. I'm
Dude,
grateful for
love
you to
you
be in the
too.
program
Absolutely.
and and seeing you grow and seeing you pour into the guys. I get messages, direct messages often of guys that just get off of a call with you, and they're like, just want to let you know Luke is awesome. He is such a huge value add to the program. Um, he really helped me work through and process through stuff, and so I just want to commend you, let you know I'm super glad to have found you when you're, 19, 20 years old, growing and learning. And I'm excited about your future. I'm excited about what God's going to do in your life. So,
Dude, thank you so much. Couldn't have done it without you. I talk about you all the time to my family. So I've got a cousin, Zach. And usually when someone in my family says Zach, we're thinking of him. When it's coming from me, I'm talking about Zach Vaught.
well, hopefully if I ever meet your cousin, he's okay. He doesn't take it too
He's cool. He's
personally.
like Vaught.
He's like, you're the new Zach, huh? So you're the guy?
Yeah.
So, well, cool, man. We're going to wrap this up. This is the first, for those of you listening, this is the first of many uh, podcast episodes that we're going to be holding it down with Keith and with Luke, and we're going to be inviting members of the program on to chat it up. And we might even do like some live coaching so you guys can get a glimpse of like, hey, this is what it actually looks like when they're processing through and working through challenges and issues.
Yep.
Um, but we're going to be highlighting wins, talking about the good, the bad, the ugly, what you can expect. Like if you really want to check out the Woodworking Business Accelerator program, like kind of what that all entails. And so, but just where can people find you? The Timber Garage, Facebook,
Yep.
Instagram.
Yep. The Timber Garage. That's who we are on all platforms. That's where you can find us.
Cool. So if you guys have any questions for Luke or any questions for Keith, Keith is Legacy Hardwood. I think it's Legacy Hardwood Co. I think
Yep.
it, yeah, Legacy Hardwood Co. on Facebook, Instagram. Hit them up. You'll get to see all their work. They're pumping out, like they said, they're pumping out a lot of tables, a lot of furniture. They're rocking and rolling. So, but with that, Luke, I appreciate you, dude. Thanks for taking time today.
Appreciate
This
you, Zach.
this will be the first of many. So,
Deal.
everybody, love you all. Have a great day. Talk to you soon.